The shotgun blast echoed off the canyon walls like a thunderclap from hell, shattering the morning fog and my fragile sense of safety. I froze mid-step on the creaky porch of the old miner's cabin, heart slamming against my ribs as splintered would rain down from the doorframe where the buckshot had chewed it to pulp. "Matthew, get your ass out here, or the next one's going straight through your skull." The voice was gravelly, laced with that small-town venom I'd been running from for months. Sheriff Harlan's deputy, the one with the buzzcut and the grudge. But it wasn't the deputy who had me choking on bile. It was the flash of blonde hair through the half-open window, the glint of a phone screen in her manicured hand, her lips moving in that fake sweet whisper. "Yes, officer. He's here. Right now. The hideout's off Route 89. Past the Devil's Bend. Karen, my best friend's sister. The woman who'd sworn on her mama's grave to keep our secret. She'd sold me out. For what? A pat on the back from the law? Or something uglier? Buried in the twisted roots of envy and lies? I bolted for the treeline, boots crunching pine needles like brittle bones, the weight of betrayal heavier than the .38 tucked in my belt. Ryan. God. Ryan. Where was he? The one man who'd made this outlaw life feel like home, not hell. If they got me, they'd drag him down too, into the fire we'd lit together in stolen nights under these unforgiving stars. The Rockies don't forgive mistakes, and mine started 6 months back in that dust-choked bar in Billings, Montana, where the neon sign flickered like a dying heartbeat. I'd been nursing a warm bud and a grudge against the world, fresh off a frame job that turned me from Matthew Hale, high school quarterback turned mechanic, into Matthew the Most Wanted. Armed robbery they pinned on me after a jealous ex-co-worker planted evidence in my truck. Small-town justice. Guilty till proven broke. So I ran, west into the wilds, holing up in this forgotten cabin my granddad whispered about in bedtime stories. A relic from the gold rush days tucked in a fold of the Madison Range. That's where Ryan found me, or maybe I found him. He was hauling supplies up the fire road in his battered Forest Service Jeep, all broad shoulders and easy grin under that Ranger Stetson. His green eyes sharp as the creek that carved the valley below. "You look like a man who's allergic to sunlight," he'd said, tossing me a protein bar through the open window. "Or maybe just warrants." I laughed. First time in weeks, and that was it. The hook sunk deep. We didn't talk labels that first afternoon. Didn't need to. He built a fire while I skinned the rabbit I'd snared, our shoulders brushing in the cramped space, sparks jumping like unspoken promises. By nightfall, with the whiskey bottle half empty between us, his hand found mine across the flames. Rough calluses from chainsaw work, warm against my grease-stained knuckles. "Ain't no one out here but us and the ghosts," he murmured, thumb tracing the vein on my wrist. I leaned in, tasting pine smoke and possibility on his lips. It was soft at first, tentative, like we were both afraid the mountains might swallow us whole. But then hunger took over, mine for touch after months of solitude, his for something real in a life of endless trails and lonely patrols. Ryan Whitaker, 32 to my 28, born and bred in these parts. His family's ranch sprawled across the valley floor, cattle lowing under endless skies. But he traded boots for badges after his dad passed, patrolling for wildfires and poachers instead. "Keeps me moving," he'd say. But I saw the shadows in his eyes when he talked about the wife who'd left him 5 years back, taking their dreams of kids and picket fences. She'd called him distant. But we both knew it was the unspoken truth she'd fled. The way his gaze lingered too long on the ranch hands, the hesitation in his vows. He never said the word gay outright, not then. Neither did I. We just were. Those early days blurred into a rhythm of stolen grace. Mornings, I'd wake to coffee brewing on the camp stove, Ryan's flannel draped over me like a shield. We'd hike the ridges, him pointing out elk tracks and edible berries, me sharing stories of Detroit grease pits and the roar of engines under my hands. Afternoons melted into lazy riverside talks, feet dangling in the icy Madison, his head on my shoulder as the sun dipped low. Nights, God, the nights. We'd lie tangled on the sagging mattress, whispering futures we had no right to dream. Maybe a cabin of our own, deeper in the woods, away from prying eyes. his fingers mapping my scars like constellations, my breath hitching at the vulnerability in his voice when he'd say, "You're the first who's made me feel whole, but paradise has cracks," and our spider webbed in when Karen showed up. Ryan's little sister, 25 and fierce as a summer storm, fresh from nursing school in Missoula with a chip on her shoulder the size of Montana. She'd always idolized her big brother, trailing him like a shadow through childhood summers. But college had sharpened her edges. Feminism texts and late-night debates that left the family ranch echoing with slammed doors. "You're wasting your life up here, Ree," she'd snapped on her first visit, eyeing the cabin's lean-to like it was a slum. "And who's this stray you picked up? He got a name, or just a rap sheet?" I tensed, but Ryan just chuckled, slinging an arm around her shoulders. "Matthew's family now, car. Mechanic from back east. Good with his hands." The double entendre hung, but she missed it, too busy unpacking her cooler of craft beers and gossip. Karen was all fire and loyalty, the kind that burned hot but could turn on a dime. She'd lost her mom young, same as Ryan, and it forged her into a protector. Fierce, unyielding. Over cards that night, she grilled me gently. Dreams, fears. Why a city boy like me ended up roughing it in the wilds. I spun half-truths about wanderlust, but her eyes, sharp like Ryan's, lingered probing. She warmed to me slow like thawing ice, shared smokes on the porch, trading barbs about Ryan's terrible cooking. "He once set water on fire," she'd cackle, and I'd laugh, the sound foreign in my chest. But there was an undercurrent, a flicker of something possessive in how she'd watch us. Ryan's hand on my knee under the table, the casual lean of his body toward mine. Jealousy? Nah, not at first. More like confusion, then resentment, bubbling under her smiles. It cracked open a month in, during a rain-lashed evening when the power lines snapped and we huddled by lantern light. Karen had been drinking, her cheeks flushed, words slurring into confessions. "You know, Ree always picks the broken ones. Mom, me after the divorce, now you." She jabbed a finger at me, eyes glassy. Ryan stiffened beside me, but I held her gaze. "Broken's just another word for human, Karen. We all got our fractures." She snorted, but there was pain there, raw, unspoken. Her own failed engagement to some tech bro in Bozeman, who couldn't handle her intensity. "Men," she spat, "always runnin' from what's real." That night, after she crashed on the couch, Ryan pulled me close in the loft, his breath ragged against my neck. "She's hootin', Maddie. Lost. But she'll come around." I nodded, burying doubts in the curve of his shoulder. Love like ours was a fragile bloom in hostile soil. One wrong frost and it could wither. Little did I know, the frost was already creeping in. Karen started weekend visits turning weekly, her truck rumbling up the dirt track like clockwork. She'd bring pies from the diner where she waitressed part-time, or wildflowers she'd picked on the drive, pressing them into my hands with a wink. "For the outlaw's lair," she'd tease, but her eyes scanned the cabin's nooks. The hidden floorboard where I stashed my fake ID, the burner phone under the sink. Ryan chalked it up to sisterly fussing, but I felt the itch, that old paranoia from nights dodging spotlights on I-90. Then came the call that changed everything. Ryan's radio crackled one crisp October dawn, dispatching him to a blaze on the Gallatin front. Nothing major, just a controlled burn gone sideways. "Be back by supper," he promised, kissing me fierce in the doorway, his Stetson tipped back. "Love you, Hale. Don't burn the place down without me." I watched his Jeep vanish into the mist, chest tight with the ache of it. Every goodbye a potential last. I planned a surprise. Venison stew simmering, a six-pack chilling in the stream. But errands ran long in Ennis, feed for the traps, ammo from the hardware store under a ball cap pulled low. By the time I crested the ridge, the sun hung low, painting the cabin in bloody hues. That's when I heard it. The muffled urgency of a voice inside, not Ryan's low drawl, but Karen's, high, clipped, laced with triumph. I crept closer, pulse thundering, and peered through the grimy pane. There she was, pacing the kitchen, phone to her ear, her free hand gesturing wild. Yeah, it's him, Matthew Hale, the Detroit fugitive. Been holed up here 3 months. Ryan's in on it too, covering for him. You gotta move fast. He's slippery. My blood turned to ice. Sell out. For a reward poster bounty? Or worse, to drag Ryan into the light, force him to choose between blood and... The deputy hollered from the tree lean. Hale! We know you're in there. And the shotgun roared again. Closer this time. Pellets stitching the air inches from my ear. I dove behind the woodpile, mind racing. Ryan, where the hell was he? The Karen had ratted. She'd bury him too. Betrayal tasted like ash. But love? Love was the spark that ignited fury in my veins. I wouldn't go down quiet. Not without fighting for the man who'd given me back my soul. The air reeked of cordite and wet earth as I belly crawled through the underbrush. The deputy's shouts fading behind the crackle of his radio. Branches clawed at my jacket like accusing fingers, but I pushed on, lungs burning, toward the old game trail that snaked behind the cabin. A bolt hole Ryan had shown me weeks back, in case the wolves ever came howling. Wolves like Harlan's boys, small-town badges swollen with power, itching for a collar to pin on their vests. I'd seen their type before, the kind that shot first when the suspect resisted, buried the questions under tragic accident. Karen's betrayal looped in my head like a bad reel, her voice, so casual with the damning details. Slippery, like I was some trout to be gaffed and gutted. But why? Ryan had vouched for her a dozen times. Car's got my back, always has. She's the fighter in the family. Fighter. Yeah, fighting dirty now. I pictured her face, that porcelain mask cracking under greed or spite. Had she clocked us from the start? The way Ryan's eyes softened around me. The private jokes that left her on the outside? Or was it simpler? Cash for a fresh start. Nursing dreams funded by my downfall? The trail dumped me into a thicket of lodgepole, where I hunkered down, .38 heavy in my grip. No shots yet. They were playing it cautious, probably circling the cabin like buzzards. Good. Let 'em waste time on an empty shell. I needed a plan, exfiltrate to the Ridge Road, hotwire a ride from the trailhead lot, then ghost east to the Badlands. But Ryan. Christ, Ryan. If they pinned accessory on him, it'd crush him, lose the badge, the ranch, everything he'd clawed back after the divorce. Our nights, our whispers of forever. They'd twist it into scandal fodder for the Ennis Gazette. Ranger in homosexual hideout horror. I shook it off, focusing on breath. In for 4, out for 4. Survival first, heartbreak later. But as the sun clawed higher, doubt gnawed deeper. What if Ryan knew? What if this was his out? Clean break via his sister's hand, sparing him the mess of loving a marked man. No, bullshit. His touch didn't lie. Those 3 words he'd gasped in the dark. I choose you. They were etched in me like Granddad's knife scars on the cabin beams. A twig snapped uphill, too deliberate for deer. I melted into the ferns, pistol trained on the gap. Footsteps, heavy, then a low curse. Not the deputy. Lighter tread, hesitant. Maddie? Jesus, Maddie, you hit. Ryan's voice, ragged with panic, slicing through the pines like mercy. He burst into view, hatless, face streaked with soot from the fire line. His ranger greens torn at the knee. Relief hit me like a gut punch. I surged up, tackling him into the duff before reason kicked in. Easy, Tiger. It's me. He grunted, arms locking around my waist. But I shoved back, grip bruising his biceps. You set me up? Tell me you didn't know about Karen. The words clawed out, venomous, born of terror. His eyes widened, green fracturing with hurt. Set you up? Goddamn it, Hale, I raced back when dispatch buzzed about a tip-off. Thought poachers at first, then they dropped your name. He cupped my face, thumbs rough on my stubble, searching my gaze. Karen? She's in town, shift at the diner. What the hell's she got to do? A distant siren wailed, cutting him off. We dropped low, breaths sinking in the hush. She's the tip? I hissed, the pieces tumbling. Her probing questions, the accidental glimpses of my wanted poster crumpled in the woodbox. Called M while I was out. Gave the Coords your name too. Said you're covering. Ryan's jaw clenched, a muscle ticking like a fuse. No, not my car. But doubt shadowed his words, the fracture lines of family loyalty cracking under truth's hammer. We'd danced around it before. Her sidelong glances when we'd linger too long in the kitchen. His deflections with sibling stuff. Now it poisoned the air between us, thick as smoke. "We gotta move," he said finally, hauling me up. "My truck's stashed a quarter-mile east, keys in the magneto. I'll draw 'em off. You rabbit to the highway." Classic Ryan, hero complex wrapped in flannel, always the shield. Hell no. I yanked him close, foreheads bumping, the world narrowing to his heat against mine. "We go together or not at all. You're not sacrificing for my mess." His laugh was bitter, winded, but his hand found mine, fingers interlacing like lifelines. "Together, then. But if we make it, you owe me that cabin by the creek. No ghosts, just us." The promise hung, fragile as spider silk, but it fueled my legs as we plunged deeper into the timberline. We ghosted through the forest like wraiths, Ryan's knowledge of the backcountry our edge. Switchbacks I'd never have found alone. Hollows where boulders muffled our steps. The sirens grew fainter, swallowed by the roar of the Madison below, but tension coiled tight in my gut. Every rustle was Harlan's hound, every shadow a betrayal reborn. Ryan moved sure-footed, but I caught the limp he'd hidden, the fire line twist, ignored for me. Guilt gnawed. This man who'd lost so much already, now risking it all for a fugitive fool. Halfway to the truck, he paused at a lightning scar of granite, pulling a battered thermos from his pack. "Water. Breathe." We slumped against the rock, sharing gulps that tasted of iron and fear. His knee brushed mine, deliberate, grounding. "Maddie, about Karen. If it's true." His voice cracked, raw as exposed nerve. I knew that tone, the Whitaker legacy, duty to kin like chains. "If it is, we face it. But don't you dare shoulder this alone." I turned his chin, forcing his eyes to mine. "You taught me that love's not a solo hike." He searched my face, then nodded, leaning in for a kiss that was all salt and urgency, lips firm against the chaos. No time for more. It was fuel, not fire. We pressed on, emerging at the trailhead as dusk bled purple across the peaks. Ryan's truck squatted under camouflage netting, a 98 F-150 with more dents than paint. He hotwired its silent, old Ranger trick, while I scanned the treeline. Clear. We piled in, engine coughing to life like a reluctant beast, and peeled gravel toward the pass. Freedom tasted like exhaust and pine, but it soured quick. Headlights bloomed in the rearview, 2 sets, closing fast. "Shit, state boys." Ryan floored it, the truck fishtailing on loose scree. The radio squawked alive. "Whitaker, stand down. We got a 10 to 78 on hail. You're obstructing." Obstructing. For loving me. Rage boiled, but Ryan's hand on my thigh steadied it. "Hold on." He veered onto a spur road, narrow as a razor's edge, dropping into a gulch where the river thrashed white. Bullets pinged off the tailgate, warning shots, but close. I twisted, squeezing off 2 rounds from the window, high and wide to spook, not kill. No blood on my hands, not today. The chase stretched eternal, canyon walls blurring, Ryan's knuckles white on the wheel. "Why'd she do it?" he muttered, more to the dark than me. "Money? Or us?" The question hung, a specter. I had no answer, just the ache of fractured trust. We lost them at the old mill ford, splashing across shallows that swallowed our tracks. Surfacing on the far bank, we ditched the truck in a thicket, grabbing packs and vanishing into the night. Stars wheeled overhead, indifferent witnesses, as we crested a saddle pass. Below, lights of Ennis twinkled. Home, now hostile. "My place," Ryan panted, veering toward the ranch road. "Gear up, then head for the border. I can stall him." Border? Wyoming line, maybe Canada if lucky. But his place too risky. "No, we confront her. Tonight." The words surprised me, born of Fury's forge. Ryan halted, breath clouding in the chill. "Confront? Maddie, that's suicide." She's family. Family doesn't sell souls for bounties. I gripped his shirt, pulling him close. We end this clean, or it haunts us forever. He searched the stars, then nodded, resolve hardening his jaw. Together, the Whitaker Ranch loomed like a judgment. White clabbered under floodlights, windmill creaking a dirge. Karen's Civic sat out front, engine cooling. Ryan killed the porch light with a thrown rock. We slipped in through the mudroom, shadows in our own story. Voices drifted from the kitchen, hers low and tear-streaked, on the landline. I had to, would have ruined his life over that. Freak. Me. The word landed like a blade, twisting deep. Ryan froze, face ashen. I squeezed his hand, steady now. We stepped into the light. Karen whipped around at the floorboards groan. Phone clattering to the linoleum like a guilty secret. Her eyes, those Whitaker greens, so like Ryan's, widened in shock, then narrowed to slits of defiance. Flour dusted her apron from whatever half-hearted pie she'd been stress baking, but her hands balled into fists, knuckles blooming white. You were supposed to be on patrol. Her gaze flicked to me, venom curling her lip. And you thought the boys in blue had you trust by now. Ryan stepped forward, shoulders squared like he was facing a blaze line. Not blood. Cut the act, Carr. I heard the call on scanner, your voice, the chords. You sold us out. His tone was even, but the hurt bled through, raw as a fresh burn. She laughed, sharp and brittle, backing against the sink. Sold out? Oh please, I'm saving you, big brother. From him. She jabbed a finger at me, nail chipped from diner shifts. That wanted poster ain't just graffiti, Ryan. Armed robbery, fleeing justice, and now you're aiding? You'll lose everything. The badge, the ranch, Dad's legacy. Her voice cracked on legacy. The weight of their shared ghosts. Father's heart attack in the saddle. Mother's slow fade from cancer. Pressing down. I stayed silent, .38 heavy in my waistband, but every instinct screamed to unload. Not bullets, but the truth she'd twisted. Ryan's hand brushed mine, a ghost touch of solidarity, before he closed the gap. And what about my choice? You think you get to play God because you're scared? Scared. Karen's laugh turned hysterical, tears carving tracks through her mascara. I'm the only one seeing clear. Ever since he showed up, you've been different, distant, like with Lisa all over again. Sneaking off, whispering like kids with a secret. I saw you, Ryan, by the creek, hands on him like he was yours. She choked, the words tumbling now, ugly and unfiltered. You're my brother, the one who taught me to ride, to fight. And now, throwing it away for this? Some drifter who'll bolt when the heat's on. The kitchen spun, her accusations landing like hail on tinfoil. She'd seen us, not just touches, but the heart of it. The love that had bloomed quiet and fierce in that cabin. Ryan's face crumpled, a dam breaking. This? You mean love, Karen? Real bone deep, the kind I never had with Lisa or anyone. Matthew's not a drifter. He's home. He reached for her, but she flinched, arms crossing like armor. Love? That's what you call it? It's a lie, Small town sin that'll get you tarred and run out. Remember Uncle Ted? Relocated after the rumors. Never heard from again. Her voice dropped, venom laced with plea. I called M for your sake. The reward's chump change. It's you I'm saving. Reward. There it was, the mercenary glint under the martyr's robe. But Ryan saw through, stepping back like she'd slapped him. You think I'm blind to the risks? Every day, yeah. But I'd take exile over betraying my heart. Yours too. Apparently, spying, scheming like some jealous ex. Jealous. The word hung electric. Karen's flush deepened. Not shame, but fury. Jealous? Of him. She sneered at me finally, fully. City boy with his sad eyes and sob stories. You think you're special, Matthew? Sweeping in, turning my brother gay overnight? I've watched you, playing house in that shack like it's some fairy tale. But it's poison. You'll ruin him. Enough. I surged forward, voice low thunder. Ruin? Lady, I never asked for your brother's heart. It was given free and fierce. And yeah, I'm poison, fugitive blood. Bad luck charm. But I love him enough to walk if it keeps him whole. Ryan's intake of breath was a knife twist. I met his eyes, apology and resolve mirrored back. Karen's facade splintered then, shoulders sagging as sobs racked her. I just wanted you back. The Ryan who picked me up from school, who promised we'd stick together after Mom. She slid to the floor, knees buckling, the fighter reduced to a girl grasping at ghosts. Ryan knelt beside her, hesitation warring with instinct, but he pulled her close anyway. Family's tether, unbreakable even in fracture. I never left you, Car, but you can't dictate my path. His voice muffled in her hair, but the steel was there. Call him off. Now. She pulled back, wiping her face with a dish towel, resolve flickering back. Too late. Dispatch went out 20 minutes ago. They're combing the ridges. A beat, then softer. Run, both of you. Cover. Say I was wrong. False alarm. Liar's grace, offered grudgingly, but it was something. Crack in the ice. Sirens wailed distant, closing like jaws. Ryan hauled her up, pressing the landline into her hand. Do it, and mean it. She nodded, dialing with trembling fingers. Her emergency, stand down, spilling out in a rush of feigned hysteria. We didn't wait for confirmation. Ryan grabbed keys, go bag from the hall closet, cash, maps, a burner he'd stashed for emergencies. I followed, heart hammering. But at the door, Karen's hand caught my arm. If you break him. Her eyes, red-rimmed, held no threat, just warning born of love's fierce edge. I won't. I vowed, and meant it deeper than oaths. We melted into the ranch's back 40, cutting through pastures where cattle stirred uneasy under the moon. Ryan's old mare, Bess, nickered from the corral. He saddled her quick, whispering apologies for the midnight ride. Double up, head for the high trail to Yellowstone. Lost in the park, they'll never track. I swung up behind, arms banding his waist, the horse's heat a poor substitute for the fire between us. Dawn broke as we crested the divide, geysers steaming in the distance like Earth's breath. Exhaustion clawed, but Ryan's back against my chest was anchor. She'll come around, he murmured, though doubt threaded his words. Family bends, doesn't break. I pressed lips to his neck, tasting salt and wild. Ours won't, not if we hold tight. But as the sun gilded the peaks, a chopper thrummed faint, search pattern, maybe, or just echo. Paranoia, my old companion. We holed up in a ranger's blind that afternoon, canvas flap shielding us from patrols. Ryan dozed fitfully, head in my lap, while I kept watch, mind replaying Karen's collapse. Betrayal's anatomy. Not just greed, but fear, of loss, of change, of a world where her brother's joy didn't mirror her script. Human, painfully so. Forgiveness? Maybe in time. But trust? That was shattered glass, sharp underfoot. Dusk brought rain, sheeting the peaks in silver. We pushed on, fording streams swollen fat, Bess picking her way like she sensed the stakes. By midnight, we hit the park boundary, ditching the horse at a trailhead, free now, wild again. Ryan's contact, an old-timer trapper named Jed, met us with a rust bucket van and no questions. Heard whispers on the wire, your sister's stonewalling good, boy. Says it was a junkie squatter, not your man. Relief thin but real. We rattled north toward the Canadian line, border towns blurring past. In a roadside motel outside Whitefish, neon vacancy, buzzing like hope, we finally crashed. Ryan drew the curtains, the room's dim bulb casting long shadows. We're clear, he said, but his hands shook as he unbuttoned my shirt. Not for heat, but healing. We came together slow, reverent, kisses like communion, bodies mapping the familiar terrain of each other's fears. No rush, no desperation, just reclamation. I choose you, he whispered again, echoing that cabin night, and I believed it, bone deep. But morning brought the call. burner chirping like doom. Karen's number. Ryan answered, face paling. They bought it, but Harlan's sniffing. And, I'm sorry. Truly. Come home when it's safe. Plea wrapped in apology. He glanced at me, eyes soft. We'll see, Carr. Heal first. Click. The fracture lingered, but so did the bridge. We crossed at Rooseville, papers faked by Jed's connections, into British Columbia's embrace. Vancouver's sprawl swallowed us. Anonymous in crowds, Ryan's resignation faxed from a cyber cafe. New start, he said, lacing fingers with mine on the seawall, waves crashing like applause. Months blurred, odd jobs in craft breweries for me, guiding gigs for him. The cabin haunted dreams, but so did hope. A leased bungalow in East Van, porch swing creaking under starlight. Love deepened, roots sinking past betrayal scars. Yet America called, a siren's song. Innocence proven via pro bono lawyer, evidence planted, case collapsed. Go back, I urged one rainy eve. Family, ranch. Ryan pulled me close, Stetson traded for a wool cap. Only if you come. Outlaws together. Laughter bubbled. Free. Karen met us at the Missoula airport. Tentative hug for Ryan. Stiff nod for me. Coffee? She offered, voice small. Over lattes in a bustling shop. Walls tumbled. Her fears, our truths. I was wrong, she admitted, tears fresh. Scared of losing him too. Happiness I couldn't touch. Humanity's grace. Forgiving the fracture. We rebuilt slow. Weekends at the ranch, her baking pies without poison. Ryan and I claiming the creek cabin as ours. No hideout now, just home. But peace has tempests. Harlan, demoted but bitter, dug old dirt. A leaked file, our border cross, obstruction whispers. Warrants renewed, shadows lengthening. The knock came at dawn, polite but insistent, like fate disguised as a telegram. Ryan answered in boxers and a sleep-rumpled tee. Me hovering in the kitchen with coffee mugs clenched like talismans. Two feds in off-the-rack suits, badges glinting under the porch light, city polish clashing with Montana grit. Whitaker, Hale, we need to talk. New evidence on the '08 robbery. Their eyes were flat, procedural, but the undercurrent hummed. Unfinished business. Ryan's jaw tightened, that Ranger steel snapping into place. Lawyers first. You know the drill. He shut the door firm, not slam. Control his armor. I paced as he dialed our Missoula attorney. Voice steady but knuckles white on the receiver. Yeah, they're here. Subpoena? Pull it. By noon, we were in a sterile conference room downtown. Air thick with stale donuts and tension. The feds laid it out. A witness recanting. My ex-co-worker, the planter, now singing for immunity. But twists. He claimed accomplices. Shadowy figures tying back to Ryan's ranch contacts. Old beefs from cattle rustles. Lies all but sticky as sap. Obstruction charge sticks if you crossed federal lines. The lead fed droned, pen tapping like a metronome of doom. Ryan's hand found mine under the table. Squeeze saying we've danced this before. But inside, the churn. Betrayal's echo, Karen's shadow flickering. She'd cleared us once, but whispers lingered, Harlan's grudge, her momentary lapse feeding his fire. The lawyer bought time, motions, depositions, but exile loomed again. We drove back in silence, Absarica peaks mocking our fragility. Canada round 2? I joked, but it fell flat. Ryan pulled over at a scenic overlook, engine ticking cool. No running this time, Maddie. We fight. His eyes burned, green fire. For us, for the life we're building. He kissed me then, fierce against the windshield's glare, sealing the vow. Back home, the ranch mobilized. Karen, redemption's fire lit, dug into records. Nursing shifts swapped for paralegal courses online, her laptop a battlefield. Harlan's fabricating. She spat over takeout burritos. Screens glowing with cross-referenced logs. That witness? Bribed by the sheriff's slush fund. I got receipts from the diner's poker nights. Her zeal was fierce, atoning sister reclaiming her place. Jed pitched in too, Trapper's network unearthing alibis from the robbery night. Ryan at a fire crew barbecue. Me at a Detroit VFW hall nursing a beer. Threads unraveled, but pressure mounted. Reporters sniffed. Local rags splashing. Ranger's lover linked to heist? The word lover a scarlet splash. Outing us in ink. Small-town America. Beautiful, brutal. Drive-bys at the ranch. Eggs and slurs scrawled on fences. Fag outlaws. Ryan's mom, remarried and distant, called once. Proud of you, son, but careful, careful, as if love could be leashed. Nights we'd escape to the creek cabin, now ours legally. Deeded by Ryan's aunt, a quiet ally. Under the beams scarred by my granddad's tales, we'd hold each other, whispers weaving shields. Remember our first fire? He'd murmur, fingers tracing my collarbone. Felt like the world ended, then began. I'd nod, pulling him closer, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces worn smooth by time. Intimacy as sacrament, tender explorations, laughs bubbling when knees knocked, vulnerability the true nakedness. But climax brewed in the hearing room, 2 weeks hence. A county courthouse packed with gawkers, air electric with schadenfreude. Harlan testified first, buzz cut gleaming under fluorescence, spinning yarns of moral decay, infecting the force. Whitaker compromised, personal ties clouding judgment. Karen rose then, her turn at bat, voice steady as she dismantled his timeline. Timestamps faked, witnesses coached. My brother's integrity? Ironclad. Yours? Sheriff? Rusty as that slush fund. Gasps rippled. The judge banged gavel, but the seed was planted. Recess brought chaos. Reporters mobbing. A protest line of rainbow flags unfurling outside. Locals, allies we'd never known, chanting, "Justice for Hale." Ryan squeezed my hand in the hall, eyes misty. See? Not alone. Yet betrayal's second strike landed sly. The ex-coworker, sweating on the stand, cracked under cross but dropped a bomb. Hale had a partner in Detroit, some queer bar hookup, live vicious aimed to smear. Courtroom hushed. Ryan's grip bruised, but I held firm. Perjury's a bitch, I muttered, our lawyer pouncing. The feds folded by adjournment. Evidence thin as smoke. Charges dropped. Obstruction vapor. Harlan slunk out, demoted to traffic duty, his empire ash. But victory tasted bittersweet. Outside, Karen hugged us fierce, tears soaking my shirt. I almost lost you both to my stupidity. Ryan ruffled her hair, brother to sister anew. You brought us back. We drove home under a sky bruised purple, radio crooning Springsteen, working class anthems for outlaws redeemed. At the ranch, a bonfire waited. Jed, neighbors, even Lisa dropping by with a nod and a beer. Heard you two are the real deal, she said to me soft. Treat him right. Community's embrace, tentative but warm. That night, creek cabin aglow. Ryan and I danced slow on the porch. No music but crickets, bodies swaying to heartbeats synced. Humanity wins, he whispered, forehead to mine. Flawed, but fierce. Yet dawn brought the letter certified, from D.C. Pardon pending, but scrutiny on Ryan's lifestyle for federal gigs. Old ghosts, new chains. The pardon came through in spring, ink dry on foolscap that smelled of bureaucracy and second chances. Matthew Hale cleared, name scrubbed from databases, a ghost made flesh again. We celebrated low-key. Barbecue at the ranch, Karen manning the grill with a vengeance, flipping burgers like flipping pages on a closed book. Jed spun yarns of nom and near misses, his laugh a gravel rumble that eased the edges of old wounds. Ryan's eyes crinkled at the corners, that easy grin back, but I caught the flicker, the letter's shadow, that lifestyle clause hanging like a noose disguised as ribbon. Federal gigs. Ranger life was state, sure, but Ryan dreamed bigger. Park Service, maybe overseeing the whole damn ecosystem from DC desk to backcountry patrols. Seen too much beauty to let it burn, he'd say, sketching maps on napkins, his passion a quiet blaze. But the feds? They poked at personal files now, interviews laced with compatibility questions. Code for are you a risk? A scandal waiting? He brushed it off at first, over morning coffee on the porch swing, his boot nudging mine. Paper pushers. They'll see I'm solid. But nights, when thunder rolled off the Absarcas, he'd wake sweating, dreams of badges stripped, headlines screaming. I'd pull him close, murmuring against his temple. You're more than a uniform, Ree. Always were. Love as lullaby steadying the tremor. Karen noticed, of course, sibling radar sharp as ever. She cornered me one afternoon in the barn, hay dust motes dancing in sun shafts, while Ryan fixed fence line. He's spiraling, Maddie. That letter's eating him. Her eyes, no longer accusatory, held worry's weight. Push him to talk. Or, let go. Let go? The words landed like frostbite. Never. I hefted a hay bale, muscles protesting, but resolve firmer. He's mine to fight for. She nodded, respect earned. Good. Then fight smart. I've got a contact, ACLU buddy from nursing forums. Pro bono for queer vets like him. Queer vets, Ryan's army stint post-divorce, stateside logistics, but scars invisible. Karen's network, once her weapon, now our shield. We met the lawyer in a Billings dive, vinyl booths sticky with history. Elena, sharp-suited Latina with a noble shit smile. Discrimination's their game, but it's losing steam. Precedents on our side. Obergefell Echoes. She mapped appeals, media plays, op-eds in the Gazette, interviews with progressive outlets. Frame it human. Love under law's boot. Ryan balked at first. Ain't no poster boy. But Karen's plea, soft over pie. For the next kid hiding in these hills. That cracked him. The man who'd saved elk from snares couldn't ignore a call like that. The campaign kicked off subtle. Ryan's piece in High Country News, Trails of the Heart. Ranger's life, love's wild paths. No names but ours implied. Responses flooded. Letters from closets cracked open. Support from parks afar. But backlash bit, Harlan's cronies picketing the ranch, crosses burning low on the access road. Sodom's Rangers, signs spat. One night, after dousing embers with Ryan's hose, fury boiled over. We argued in the cab of his truck, parked at the overlook where we'd vowed to fight. This is what they do. Turn love to war? I snapped, dashboard glow carving shadows on his face. He gripped the wheel, knuckles stark. Then we wore back. Or quit. Quit. The word hung, abyss yawning. Quit the dream? Silence stretched, rain pattering the roof like judgment. Then soft, can't quit you, Maddie. That's the line. He leaned across the console, kissed salt sour with fear, but deepening to anchor. We made love there, cramped and urgent. Clothes shed in heaps, bodies frantic against vinyl, reclaiming agency in gasps and grips. Not escape, but defiance. We are here, unbroken. Elena's strategy escalated. Press conference in Missoula, Rainbow Coalition flanking us. Veterans, families, even Lisa with her new partner. A quiet show of bridges. Ryan spoke, voice steady as river stone. I served this land, love it fierce. My heart's no crime. Cameras flashed. I stood beside, hand in his visible vow. The feds blinked first. Review board convened. Lifestyle, clause quietly excised under legal fire. Ryan's appointment letter arrived in summer. Yellowstone lead, backcountry guardian. We hooped on the porch, Karen popping champagne with a grin. To outlaws reformed, but humanism's arc bends slow. Harlan's final play came sly. A leaked audio, Karen's old call to 911 doctored with whispers of conspiracy. Smear on her, on us. She crumbled that night, bourbon bottle half empty on the kitchen table. Eyes hollow. I fixed one betrayal, spawned another. Ryan and I found her there, post-rodeo, dust still on our boots. He knelt, taking the glass gentle. You fixed nothing alone, Carr. We all did. I sat opposite, no grudge left, just shared scars. Human means messing up, then mending. She leaned into him, sobs muffled. Afraid I'll always be the villain in your story. You're the hero who turned page, Ryan said and meant it. Forgiveness's quiet power. The leak fizzled, Elena's forensics proving tamper, and Harlan retired for health, pension intact. Justice, American style, imperfect but progress. Fall brought harvest, golden aspens framing the ranch like benediction. Ryan and I hiked the Madison headwaters, packs light, hearts heavier with fullness. At the cascade where we'd first kissed, water roaring white, he dropped to one knee, not ring but a braided leather cord, elk sinew and river stone. Marry me, Hale? Make it legal, loud. Tears pricked. I hauled him up, kissing till breathless. Yes, till the peaks crumble. Karen officiated, small ceremony by the creek cabin. Jed best man, Lisa matron, a dozen allies under harvest moon. Vows simple. In wilds and calm, I choose you. Rings exchanged, plain gold warmed by firelight. Winter whispered in, snow mantling the world soft. We wintered in the cabin, Ryan's Yellowstone post-seasonal, my mechanic shop in Ennis thriving. Custom bikes for tourists, grease under nails a grounding joy. Nights we'd read by stove glow. Thoreau for him, Kerouac for me, voices weaving tales till sleep claimed. But climax's echo lingered, one last conflict, internal now. Ryan confessed over mulled cider, eyes on the flames. Sometimes fear whispers I'm not enough. For you, for this life. Vulnerability, raw as fresh snow. I cupped his face, thumbs tracing laugh lines. You're everything. The man who saw me in shadows, pulled me to light. Love's litany, banishing doubts. Spring thaw brought renewal. Karen's engagement, to a park ecologist, gentle guy, accepts her edges. Wedding on the ranch, us toasting under string lights. Full circle, she said, hugging me tight. Thanks for not hating me. Never could, I replied. And it was truth, humanity's gift, grace over grudge. Years folded like accordions. Ryan's promotions, my shop expanding to restorations. Vintage Harleys roaring back to life. Kids came via surrogacy. 2 boys with his eyes and my mischief, tumbling through pastures. Uncle Maddie's outlaws. They'd giggle, tiny hands in ours. Betrayal? A scar. Faded. The hideout? Sanctuary still, where we'd renew vows yearly, under stars that witnessed it all. Decades carve canyons in the soul, but ours ran deep with grace. Rivers of laughter, eddies of quiet ache, all flowing to an ocean of enough. The boys grew tall. Elias, the elder, ranger-bound like his dad, patrolling the same trails with a badge that shone unshadowed. Theo, my shadow, wrench turning in the shop, grease monkey grin mirroring mine. Family suppers echoed with banter. Karen's brood piling in. Her ecologist husband Jed's successor in tall tales. Grandkids orbiting like satellites. Ryan aged like whiskey. Silver threading his temples. Crow's feet from squinting at horizons. But that grin? Eternal, lighting rooms like dawn on snow. We'd hike still, slower now, knees protesting but spirits spry. Remember the shotgun? He'd tease at overlooks, arms slung casual around my waist. Public now, normalized in Montana's thawing heart. Betrayal's ghost visited rare. Anniversaries of the call, when sirens in the distance stirred old flinches. We talk it out then, by the creek, water murmuring absolution. Karen saved us in the end, he'd say, and I'd nod, toasting with stream-chilled beer. She did her redemption arc a masterclass in mending, nursing not just bodies but bonds. Divorced once, remarried wiser, she led support groups now, fractured families, helping kin navigate the queer kin they birthed or raised. Harlan's end came quiet, heart attack in his recliner, TV droning cop shows. No funeral invite, but Ryan sent flowers. White lilies, symbol of peace. Let it rest, he murmured at the news, and we did. Humanity extending even to villains, when time weathers the hate. The cabin endured, our anchor. We restored its summers. New roof, solar panels, but kept the sagging porch for swingin'. Grandkids romped there, chasing fireflies, while we spun sanitized tales. Your pops was an outlaw once, hid from the law in these very walls. They'd squeal, demanding encores. eyes wide as the Madison's mouth. Climax revisited in subtler storms. Elias's coming out, sophomore year, crush on a debate teammate. Panic flickered, echoes of our flight, but Ryan coached calm. Own it, son. Love's no crime. We stood sentinel at the first awkward parent meet, Theo cracking jokes to ease tension. Kid bloomed, resilient. Theo's hit harder. Bar fight in Bozeman. Slurs slung after a date gone public. Bruises faded, but the flinch lingered. I taught him boxing in the barn, not for brawls but building, while Ryan mapped escape routes just in case. World's better, he'd say. But still wild. Human progress, 2 steps forward, 1 crabwise. My own ghost stirred late. Cancer, sneaky pancreatic bastard. Diagnosed on a routine check. Ryan's face at the news, devastated but determined, mirrored that first cabin night when he'd chosen me over caution. Chemo gauntlet, he walked every step. Hospital vigils with dog-eared westerns, home with bone broth and bad puns. You're tougher than Granddad's knife, he'd quip, hand in mine through the haze. Karen rallied the clan. Fundraisers masked as rodeos, her nursing crew on call. Fight like you love, she'd say, echoing our vows. I did, clawed back, remission stacking like cordwood. But the end loomed, inevitable as equinox. Hospice in the cabin, windows open to pine scent, family rotating through. Boys grown, spouses woven in, grandkids' drawings taping walls like talismans. Ryan last, always, nights curled close, his breath my metronome. Regrets, I whispered one dusk, pain dulled to hum, his fingers laced in mine. None worth a damn. He smiled, that grin. You? Best mistake I never fixed. Laughter bubbled, weak but true. Love you, Whitaker. To the stars. And back. Kiss soft, eternal. I slipped away at dawn. Mountains gilded. Ryan's whisper chasing. Wait for me, Hale. We'll hike again. Grief's canyon yawned. Ryan hollowed. Ranch echoing empty. But he endured, as Whitakers do. Leading grief circles with Karen, mentoring young rangers on inclusive patrols. Elias took Yellowstone helm. Theo the shop, bikes roaring under his hands. Years later, Ryan followed, peaceful in his sleep, Stetson on the hook. Funeral by the creek, ashes scattered where we danced. Outlaw reunited, Karen toasted, voice thick. The world spun on boys raising families, Karen's groups expanding nationwide. Montana's skies bluer with acceptance. Betrayal? Distant thunder, lesson etched. Love's the outlaw, wild and unyielding. Hideout in the heart. Humanity's close. Flawed arcs bending toward light. One choice at a time. Ours? A romance etched in stone. Dramatic, deep, defiantly American.